I have a very interesting subject. I call it 5 simple steps to go from average to fortune. Let me give you this simple little talk. How to go from average to fortune. There's 5 simple steps. You might like to make a note of them. Here's the first one. Get serious. That's number 1. I don't know any substitute for that. You've really got to get serious. You don't have to be grim, but you must be serious. I know a guy that's got a half a dozen jokes keeping him from becoming wealthy. He's not known as rich. He's known as a joker, which I guess is okay if that's the kind of life you want to live. But it really isn't the best way to live. To go from average to fortune, you must get serious. And you must get serious about 2 very important things. Number 1 is setting your goals and where you want to go. Designing the next 5, the next 10 years is so vitally important. What do you want to do economically? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? What would you like to have? What would you like to share? How much would you like to earn? How far would you like to go? Those are some major questions to ask. And for that all to work out like you want it to for the next 5 or 10 years, in my personal opinion, you've got to get serious. Then you have to get serious about another important subject. And that important subject is called personal development. Personal development is striving hard to become the kind of person that you want to be. And to become the kind of person you want to be, you've got to work at it. 10 years from now, you will surely become someone. The big question is, who? What are you becoming? And if you go to work on it now, sure enough, in a very short period of time, you can take on a new direction to become the kind of person you want to be. There's a very important question to ask, and the question is, 10 years from now, you will surely arrive. And the question is, where? So to answer the question of where you want to arrive and the kind of person you want to be, you've got to get serious. So that's point number 1. To make your life worthwhile and unique, to go from average to fortune, you've got to get serious. Now, the second point is, get smart. To make your life work out worthwhile, you've got to have some ideas. You've got to have the information. So you've got to be smart. In fact, in this decade, you must be much smarter than you were in the last decade. You've got to read the books. You've got to come up with the information. When I have a chance to talk to the high school kids, that's the theme of my talk. Get smart. There's nothing worse than being stupid. And if you will read the books, learn from your experiences, do all the things that you possibly can to get the information, sure enough, you'll be wiser this year than you were last year. And I've got a few techniques that I teach in my seminar on how to get smarter. Keeping a journal, going to the lectures, going to the seminars, listening to the sermons, picking up ideas from other people. You just must keep up this steady process of learning. Never cease your quest for knowledge. And that's one of the key points to go from average to fortune. Get smart. Now here's number 3. You've got to get going. All of the things that you've learned will not do you that much good if you don't put it into an action plan. You've got to get going. In my management and leadership seminar, we teach game plans, how to put all the good things that you've learned into action. Economic action, social action, personal action. How to make the changes and how to actually do the work, how to actually function. Get going, that's the key. Some people are ever learning, but they don't put it into action. They don't really take the action. It's like the man who keeps bringing materials to the building site and never builds anything. He keeps bringing in the sand and the gravel and the windows and the doors and the roofing material, and he just stacks up all these supplies, but he never builds anything. You've got to do something with what you've learned. You've got to take action. You've got to get going. So that's one of the most important things to learn, how to design your days, how to design your weeks, how to design the months so that you take the proper action to get the proper return that you're looking for, whether it's economic or personal. Get going. It's a major key. Now here's number 4. You must get excited. And not just the false enthusiasm of just pure positive thinking. You've got to get excited over some very basic things. One is, get excited over your ability to make yourself do the necessary things. Because discipline is major step 1 toward personal progress. And anytime a person wishes to, they can make major changes in their life, personally and socially and financially. It doesn't ever have to be the same after today. No telling what you could do today if you really wished to. The act of murder is a clear indication that a person in one drastic act can forever change the course of their life. It just happens to be in the negative direction. What I would ask you to do, starting today, is get excited about committing an act that's positive, an act that's constructive, to make the changes in your life that you want made, and to go the direction that you want to go. So that's number 4, get excited. Get excited about your potential. Human capacity is usually never the problem. Little children can learn several languages. We can learn to do the most incredible things. All we need to do is take the time to do it. So it's not a matter of capacity. It's a matter of judgment. It's a matter of excitement. It's a matter of will. And it's a matter of wanting to bad enough. So it's pretty exciting to know that any day you wish, you can change your life. Any day you pick out, you can make major changes. It doesn't ever have to be the same again. And that's exciting. Knowing that intellectually and personally, you can actually do the things that will make major changes in your life. That's number 4. I have found, especially in the last 15, 20 years, that there's an important thing called life balance. You've got to learn to get away. You must learn to get away and be alone. Learn to get away and reflect. Learn to get away and learn how to live as well as how to earn. How sad it would be to learn how to earn well, but not learn how to live well. You must balance your life. We teach something, especially in my staff, I teach something called lifestyle. Lifestyle is how you learn to live your life. Some people have money, but they don't even know how to spend it. They have time, but they don't know how to spend it. Some people are successful, but they don't know how to spend their success. They don't know what to do with it. They don't get joy from it. Rather, they get animosity. A father takes $5, crushes it, and throws it at his son and says, if you need it that bad, take it. Now, it's the same $5, but instead of dispensing it with joy, he dispenses it with animosity. That's the difference in not knowing how to live. It's called lifestyle. Then you've got to take time to cultivate good friends. You've got to take time to be with your family. You've got to take time to be with the people who are important to you, designing your life in those respects. Get away. Take the time. Reflect on your life. Recharge your batteries. Do some growing away from your enterprise. Then when you come back to your enterprise, after you have taken this time to balance your life, you will find that on the job, working on your enterprise, things will really go much better. So those are the 5 simple steps to go from average to fortune. Get serious. Get smart. Get going. Get excited. And get away. There's usually about a half dozen things that makes 80% of the difference. There's usually about a half dozen things that makes 80% of the difference. Great formula. Now, it's not exactly half dozen, it's not exactly 80%, but you get my concept here. Here's another way to put it. Keep looking for the few things that makes the most difference. There's not 1,000 things you have to do. Not 1,000 things every day. I'm telling you about a half a dozen good health practices, and you'll take care of most of your health challenges. Okay? If you're going to set up an office, there's not a checklist of 500 things you need to look at every day. I'm telling you, there's about a half a dozen. A few things will take care of most of it. Now here's the challenge. Once you've found the few things that takes care of the most of the challenge, now spend most of your time on those few things. This we simply call time management. In the 2-day leadership weekend, one of my major subjects is time management. Here's what I call it. The best kept secret of the rich is what? Time management. What an incredible discovery I made one day. Right? And poor people have about what? 24 hours a day. Wouldn't that drive you mad till you found out what the difference was? How could you sleep nights till you found out what the difference was? Both have equal time, but an incredible difference in outcome. What makes the difference? Same time, but a totally different outcome. It's called time management. And here's part of it in a nutshell. Look for the few things that makes the most difference, then spend most of your time working on those few things. Here's what we learned. Here's why a lot of people don't do well. They major in minor things. They spend too much time on things that don't count. They spend too little time on things that would count. They've got the ratios mixed up. So we teach our children what? Don't spend major time on minor things, things that don't count. And don't spend major money on minor things. It's easy to get the ratios mixed up and suffer the consequences. In the last 10 years, a guy's bought 2 tons of donuts and 2 books. And he wonders why his life is devastated. Right away, we would come up with the answer, couldn't we? He spent far too much money on what? Donuts. Now, both donuts and books are okay, but this guy spent far too much money on donuts and not enough money on books. The best kept secret of the rich. Don't spend too much money on things that don't count. Don't spend too much time on things that don't count. And don't spend too little time on things that would count. It's called the time management challenge. So, the few things, the half dozen, takes care of the big share of it. Good formula to use. Here's what we call these. Half dozen few. Basics. Basics. Fundamentals. If you're going to play basketball, right? You're going to be a pro someday. Hey, you got to master the fundamentals. Not 1,000 things. A few things you get very good at. Then you add your own flair and your own personality. But hey, if you want to do something extremely well and get well paid, you master the fundamentals, master the basics. Now, here's what's exciting about the fundamentals of life. Just jot that down. The fundamentals of life. Here's what's exciting about the fundamentals of life. Number 1, there's just a few. There's not 1,000. There's just a few fundamentals of life and living well, success. Just a few fundamentals. Here's what else is exciting. Once you know them, you know them. Once you got it, you got it. Okay. And here's what else is exciting. There's no new ones. So you don't have to worry about being surprised. Because fundamentals are what? Old. 6,500 years of written history gives us the fundamentals of life. And these fundamentals are old. You got to beware of somebody who comes along with new truth and say, no, truth is not new. Truth is what? Old. Old. Now, there might be a new way of looking at it, maybe a new way to apply it to the 20th century. But just because you've discovered it, it isn't called new truth. So truth is old. Beware if somebody says we've got a new fundamental. Say, no, that sentence doesn't even make sense. So be a little suspicious. Wouldn't you be suspicious of a guy who said we're manufacturing antiques, right? You got to come and see our plant work. If you will get better, everything will get better for you. What a clear message that was for me. He said, if you'll change your philosophy, if you'll change your habits, if you'll refine your thinking, if you'll change and accept some new disciplines, if you'll turn the corner where you've been in the past, go for a new life for the future, he said all kinds of remarkable things will happen for you if you will change. Before I met Mr. Shoaff, I used to cross my fingers and say, I sure hope things will change. I was hoping the government would change and the tax structure would change and that my boss would change and pay me more money, would come down, and I was hoping that circumstances would get better. And then I discovered from my teacher that those things are going to continue the same. In fact, all of those things that happen to us is kind of like the wind that blows. But we must not leave our future just to the wind, just to the economy, just to the structure of the way things are happening today. Here's what we must learn to do. I went to work to try to change myself. And I picked up that promise. My teacher shared with me that if I would change, my income would change. If I would change, my bank account would change. If I would change, my future would change. And sure enough, His promise came true for me. Things started working for me, changing my life all those years ago. We don't have to change what's going on out there. That's the wind that's blowing. All we have to do is change what's going on in here. And now there's several ways to do that. The first subject he called personal development. We must learn from personal experience. Pretty simple. Learn from what happens to you. Take a look back over the last few months. Did you make some mistakes? How could you correct those for the future? Take a look back over the last year. Have you done it right or done it wrong? Let's correct it for the next year. Mr. Schoaf asked me when I first met him, he said, Mr. Rohn, how are you doing? You've been out there now 6 years. And I said, I'm not doing very well. He said, I suggest you not do that anymore. What a simple, swift analysis to my situation. He said, if you keep doing it, the next 6 years will be like the last 6. You don't want that to happen. Let's make the changes.
The most successful and wealthiest people all practice these habits on a daily routine, and adding these to your daily routine will contribute greatly to your success. Planning your day actually starts the day before. Set out what you want to accomplish before you even start your day. The last thing you do before coming home from work or retiring for the night is to plan your entire next day. When you plan your day the night before, your subconscious mind then goes to work on your plans and your goals while you are asleep. Sit down with a sheet of paper, notebook, or mobile device and put down everything that you need to do the coming day. Preparing your daily list the night before will clear your mind and enable you to sleep more soundly, which will increase your productivity throughout the day. Now, when it comes to making your daily to-do list, make sure that you're working from the 80-20 rule. If you have 10 items to do on your list, 2 of them will be more important than the other 8 put together.
Now, there's 2 kinds of people to learn from. One is failures. It's too bad failures don't give seminars, right? That would be valuable. Have them tell you how they lost it all and threw it all away, threw their health away and threw their friendships away and things didn't work out well. That would be valuable. But now then we must also learn from positive people that have done well. They've got the health, and so we ask them, how did you become so healthy? They've got the skills, so we ask them, how did you become this skillful? They've got the income, so we ask them, how did you get here in such a short period of time? So now here's what's important in personal development. In learning from other people, we learn, number 1, by observation. We learn what we see. We watch people that are successful in what they do. In sports, we watch their disciplines. In business, we watch their disciplines. Second, we learn by what we hear. Learn by listening. And then listen to the sermon on Sunday morning. Listen to the lectures. Listen to the teacher. Listen to someone who's got something good to say. And then number 3 is vitally important on personal development, and that is read all the books you can possibly read in your lifetime. Mr. Schoaf got me started on my library. I've got one of the better libraries. And then I started keeping a journal. One of the major things my teacher taught me was to keep a journal. He said, don't trust your memory. If you hear something good, just make a little note and write it down. So I would suggest you do the same. Things that impress you, a poem that impresses you. When you attend a class, some of the ideas that impressed you, jot them down. You read something in a magazine, right? Some ideas. Take those out, put them in your journal. Keep a good journal the rest of your life. This will serve you well. So I want the same thing to happen to you. Value captured that you can resort to later. Go back over it and review it and let it become valuable to you. So that's my first subject, personal development. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Develop the skills. Learn the lessons. Take the classes. Absorb all that is being taught to you these days. And then later on, of course, you can sort it out, what's valuable to you and how to refine it for your business and for your life and for your future. But the main thing is to get it and start this process of personal change, personal development. And let me say it one more time. If you will change, everything will change for you. You'll never be the same. You'll keep growing. As you look back on a few months, look back on a few years, you won't believe the progress you can make. Economically, your relationship with your family, your friends, telling you that whole process of committing yourself for personal change, personal value can really make your life unique and worthwhile.
Every single study in productivity shows that you will be far more productive in the 5 or 6 days that you work if you take 1 or 2 days off completely than you ever would be if you worked straight through for 7 days. The same applies on a smaller scale in the hours of your day. Taking a small break will clear your head and should give you some fresh thoughts to sharpen your focus. However, don't get too comfortable taking too many breaks or welcoming distractions. Most people spend 50% of their time doing non-work related activities while they're at work. Break the time-wasting habits of browsing social media, checking email, taking long lunch breaks, and chatting with coworkers. Time is your scarcest resource. You must work smarter to preserve it in every way possible, and eliminating these time wasters will improve your time management skills and your quality of life. Look at every request for your time as time being taken away from the amount of time that you have to work and the time that you have left on earth.
Since we cannot change the circumstances, but we can change ourselves. We can change what we do. And then he gave me another secret to success when he said, what you have at the moment, Mr. Rohn, you've attracted by the person you've become. What you have at the moment, you've attracted by the person you've become. Few little simple principles here. Once you understand these, now sometimes it's a little tough to take, blaming yourself instead of the marketplace, taking responsibility instead of putting it off on someone else. That transition sometimes is a challenging mission. And this one was a little tough for me. He said, Mr. Rohn, you've got pennies in your pocket, you've got nothing in the bank, the creditors are calling, you're behind on your promises. He says, here's how that occurs. You've attracted, up until now, you've attracted the things to you because of the person you've become. Shoaff said, here's the secret, Mr. Rohn. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I got that, it turned my life around. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. He said, if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. If you would have known me at age 25, you'd have known me. You'd have said that. I'm the guy, I don't mind coming a little bit early, staying a little bit late. I don't mind that. You'd have said, well, Jim Rohn's a hard worker. You say, well, how come he's got pennies in his pocket and nothing in the bank and behind on his promises? Well, I was a hard worker, but I was working hard on my job, not on myself. I'm telling you, if you'll learn that simple little principle and start the process today, latest tomorrow, I'll give you tonight to think it over. And start this whole process of personal development, work on yourself, make yourself more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, you can so dynamically change your income, and economics is the least of the values that you can start earning in terms of equity if you'll start working harder on yourself than you do on your job. Let the miracle of everything that's available work for you, and start working on the inside. Work on your philosophy, work on your attitude, work on your personality, work on your language, work on the gift of communication, work on all of your abilities. And if you'll start making those personal changes, I'm telling you, everything will change.
Spend your time like money. Even when you're not at work, your time is at least equal to an hourly rate. If a person or activity is asking you to donate your time, ask yourself, how important is this task to me? And how much of my time and money am I willing to donate to it? If it's not important enough, you must discipline yourself not to do it. Just say no. You want to give any time to your priorities and the top 20% of your tasks first. Say no to requests for your time that don't move you forward or are not of high value. Ultimately, your top goal every day should be to get the highest return on your investment of mental, emotional, and physical energy. That's the key to working smarter.
Success is something you attract by the person you become. Success is not something you pursue, chase, run after. Success is something you've developed, something you become. You attract success. So the whole key to unlock all the treasures, whether it's economic treasures or spiritual treasures, financial, social, personal, every way you can possibly think of, is by your own personal development. And then he added one more, which is so important, and it's probably worth the price of the seminar. Here it is. What you become is much more valuable than what you get. What you become is much more valuable than what you get. The major question to ask on the job is not what am I getting here. The major question to ask on the job is what am I becoming here? Not what am I getting, what am I becoming? So it's very important what you become. Because what you become attracts. If you become cynical, you attract cynicism. What you become attracts. So this whole subject of personal development was so vitally important to me. It changed my life. I was a millionaire by age 31. And that was just the economic part of it. It took me 6 years from age 25 to age 31. It was unbelievable. Now, if you're excited and you're ready to change, let me give you 3 steps to start life change that can change your life, your personality, your lifestyle, everything can change. Here's the steps. Number 1, find out how things work. The first key to doing better is find out. To change your life, really, you need ideas. There isn't anything an idea can't change. And Schultz taught me the major problem is lack of an idea, not a problem. At first, I didn't have any money. I said to Mr. Schultz, I don't have any money. He said, that's not a problem. Now, see, up until then, I always thought it was. Right? I was confused. He said, no, the problem is lack of an idea on how to create money and wealth. It isn't lack of money, it's lack of ideas. So if you get the ideas, see, you can change anything. Now, to get ideas, you need a constant study of finding out. Now, Schoff also said, when you find out something that works, put the information in your journal. Don't use your head for a filing cabinet. Put it in your journal so that you can do the next best thing. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Go over it. And if you repeat it, go over it, sure enough, someday, some mysterious day, the idea takes root, starts to grow, and shows up in your bank account, and your dress, and your personality, and your lifestyle. But capture the ideas in your journal. Find out how things work. Schoff gave me this word for my life change. If you wish to be successful, study success. If you wish to be happy, study happiness. If you wish to be wealthy, study wealth. Don't leave it to chance. Make it a study. Some people just go through the day with their fingers crossed. See, that won't do it. You've got to study the things that can change your economic, social, spiritual, personal life.